Say good evening, everyone. Today we'll discuss about IAM. IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. What is the purpose of IAM is? It is going to provide the authentication and authorization for our AWS resources. Say we want to authenticate to AWS, or we want to get some permissions or authorizations that can be defined. We can like manage through IAM. Okay, it's very powerful, and mostly in the job also, or in the project also, the first we are going to use IAM service itself. Later we are going to configure the VPCs instances like this. So now the main advantage is like we are going to share our AWS account with the multiple resources, or to the other AWS services also we are going to give the access. So here we are going to give the permissions, and we can control exactly what the authorizations or what are the permissions the user can perform. These all we can define through IAM. So now here, say what is the meaning of IAM? IAM provides authentication and authorization for our AWS resources. Okay, so for our AWS resources, it's going to provide the authentication and authorization. What is the meaning of authentication is whether the user is valid or not. Okay, whether his credentials are valid or not. Okay, so those are called as authentication. Authorization will define what are the permissions that user is going to get. So those all the permissions we are going to define in authorization. Both we are going to manage through IAM. Both the authentication and the authorization we are going to get through the IAM. By default, when we have our account, so as of now through IAM, we are managing one account. Okay, say in our account, what we have is we have multiple users. Those may be the employees or clients or maybe end users. For them, we want to give the access to manage the AWS resources. So for that, we are going to use IAM. Okay. So by default, when we create an account, we are going to get the root access. All these days we are logging as the root access, but AWS strictly telling don't use the root access. At any point of time, create the IAM users itself. Okay, so then what is the best practice is don't log in using root access. So what we need to do is we need to create an IAM users. AWS is telling one more thing also. For the first time when we log in as the root account, okay, create one IAM user. Then once that IAM user have been created, the next time onwards, the delegation of administration need to be done with that IAM user itself. Means if you have 100 employees in our company, then root user shouldn't create the 100 employees. That IAM user, okay, so is going to create another 100 users. Okay, so root account only for the first time we need to log in, and once we log in also we need to delegate IAM user. Then he is going to create more number of employees, or those all persons we are creating as IAM users. Okay, then what is the main advantages? We have one service called as Cloud Trial. In the Cloud Trial, we are going to get all administrative events. So then that would be recorded not with the root name or not with the first IAM user. Whatever the operations we have performed, every user in the account will have one IAM username, and using that username itself, everyone are going to log in, and all their administrative events are going to be recorded in the Cloud Trial. So now here we have two services. One is CloudWatch, second one is Cloud Trial. CloudWatch is used for monitoring of AWS resources, whereas CloudTrail is used for all the administrative events logging. All the administrative events are going to be logged into CloudTrail. Okay. So what is the problem if everyone have accessing the root account? All the events are going to be recorded in the root account. Then we don't get like auditing kind of things, and we don't get like security also. Everyone can do everything. So these kind of like problems we have by using the root account. Hence, we are going to create the IAM users, and we are delegating the administration permissions. Only those authorization only the users can get. Okay. So then all the important services we are going to restrict to the users. And even when you join in the project also, like we will have the limited access. Giving all the permissions, all the resource access is very bad practice in the cloud and DevOps. Always give the minimal access itself. We need to give in the in the cloud and DevOps wise. Then AWS IAM is a very powerful tool. Okay, main benefit is we are going to access the shared access we are going to give to our account level. Okay, then we can define the permissions, and we can give exactly what are the permissions that we want to define to the users. Only those kind of things also we can give. And one more thing what we can do is we can enable MFA. What is the concept of MFA is multi-factor authentication. Say, everyone may be log into Gmail also. Sometimes it may ask you to share three numbers it will send to your mobile. You need to choose exact number what it is displayed in the desktop. That is the second level of authentication. Otherwise, you may be getting an OTP also to your mobile. In the same way, we have already entered username and password, but if enable MFA, we are going to get multi-factor or second level verification is going to happen. What is the main advantage is if my AWS credentials have been compromised, someone got like those credentials, then those credentials can be like they may access. But if you have the multi-factor authentication, it's going to send an email or sorry, it's going to send an OTP for our authenticator app. Then even if someone know our credentials also, they're not able to log in. And if someone tries to access our credentials, at least we can keep some auditing kind of thing from which IP they're trying to access. These kind of security also we are going to get through. We are going to get through AWS like a MFA. Is it one of the best practice to enable MFA or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that's if you don't want to give to everyone, at least we can give to the users which they have more resource access, more permissions. Okay. At least to the important users, we can enable. I'll tell one example. I have one L3 admin, L2 admin, L1 admin. Okay. So then L3 admin having more permissions, more services he can access, more like options also, like he can terminate or he can stop. So these kind of permissions we have. L1 he can only read the things, he can monitor the things, he can't do more administrative kind of activities. In this use case, if we want to give the MFA for only limited users, then for whom you will suggest to go for MFA? For whom you will suggest to go for the MFA? To the L3 guys, at least we can go for the MFA kind of thing. Okay, so then like at least because they have more privileges, right? That is the reason we need to go for the at least for the L3 admins we can give those permissions we can define. Okay, then here we have four important terms in the IAM wise. The first one is IAM user, then IAM group, Then we have a IAM role, IAM policy. So these are the four things we should able to explain even in the interview also. The IAM is a simple, like is an one of the identity in our AWS account. We are going to give to the persons. Okay, so I want to give to the specific persons mostly. We are going to give IAM users. Okay, but AWS is not at all recommended to create IAM users also. Always they said give the temporary credentials or single sign kind of one-time credentials we can share instead of creating permanent IAM users. Even if you give the IAM users also, we need to rotate the credentials. What is the meaning of rotation of the credentials is maybe for 30 days, 60 days, we need to change the passwords, we need to change the access keys, secret keys. So that kind of retention kind of policies we need to keep even if you are giving a permanent IAM users. Instead of giving the IAM users also, AWS is recommending to share temporary credentials. Okay, but if you want to give the users for long term, say suppose they're going to work in the same project for 1 to 2 years or 3 years, then better to create the IAM user. Even one of the best practice we need to follow is we need to rotate their keys. So maybe for 30 days we need to rotate or 60 days, 90 days. That's defines in the company policy. Okay. So IAM user, mostly we are going to use for the single person or application. IAM group. Okay. So IAM group is the similar kind of or equivalence class of users. Okay. So that's I'm not taking the class individually one on one, right? What is the problem with that is I need to spend 20 times more efforts I need to keep because for everyone I need to teach. Now if I take it as a group, okay, it's going to be performed as a single shot. In the same way, similar kind of users, we can group them and the permissions or policies or everything can be assigned to the group itself. When we have a large scale number of resources, it's recommended to go for groups. The main advantage is I no need to give the permissions to 100 users. All those 100 users I may bring into one group and I'll give the permissions to the group itself.
I can't hear voice. I'm not audible.
Yes, me too, sir.
Yeah, is it fine now?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fine now.
now is this fine, sir?
Okay, yeah. So now here there is a slight difference between user and IAM role. So this mandatory we should able to understand what is the difference between user and IAM role. Okay, user is a straightforward. We are going to attach to the persons. IAM role, we are not going to attach to a person kind of thing, but I want to give the permissions to other service. Okay, so one of my service want to access other service. So one service I want to give the permission to other service. I'll tell one example. We have a Azure in our mobile. I have one Instagram I'm installing. Instagram will require the permissions for what in your mobile? Say Instagram require the permissions for maybe your camera, location, okay, SMS, calls, like these contacts. It requires some permissions or not? To whom
Yes,
you are
sir.
giving the permission is not to other third party person, you are giving the permission to one application, you are giving the permissions to access other applications. If you don't give that access, what is going to happen is maybe Insta, you can't access the location, or maybe you can't access the contacts, you can't access the gallery. These kind of restrictions we are going to give. So now in AWS terminology wise, what is the meaning of roles is I'm not going to give the permissions to one person. Okay, if you want to give to the person, I'm going to assign the user for him. But here this is one AWS service want to access another AWS service on behalf of us. So now I have an EC2 instance. EC2 instance, it need to trigger a Lambda function. Okay, so you written some code in the Python, but we no need to trigger that Lambda function. Who need to trigger? Who need to trigger that Lambda function?
Yes.
Yeah, that EC2 on
And
behalf of us, that EC2 need to trigger the Lambda function. Otherwise, I have an EC2. EC2 want to push some logs to CloudWatch.
sir, can we give a direct user to the Lambda function?
Yeah, yeah. User also can create, but automatically I want to create from the EC2 instance. Okay, programmatically I want to
Yes, sir.
create. Okay, to the user anyhow we'll give that. But here in this way we are going for roles is for EC2 instance, I'm giving the permission to Lambda function. Then I can't create the user or that user I can't attach to EC2. What I need to do is I need to attach a role. That role should have the Lambda permissions and that role need to be attached to EC2 instance.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I have EKS, Kubernetes cluster. Kubernetes cluster is going to access storage, okay, then EBS, then EC2, okay, then it's going to access the ELB. For all these, I need to give the permissions to whom I'm giving is for EKS cluster I'm giving. For all these will have the roles. Okay, so then what is the meaning of role is? It's an identity within our AWS account that have the permissions, but that has been not attached to the person. It's maybe like maybe a service on behalf of us, we are going to do that automation. Okay, so in which scenarios you are going to do is, okay, so I want to give the cross service access.
Sir,
One service want to access other
sir, roles
service.
we can give only for the services, sir.
Not only services, we have a lot of use cases, but
Okay, sir.
most used use cases cross-service access. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
so then another one is cross-account access also. That means I have one developer in another AWS account. I want to give the access to my S3 bucket. Another company like a developer want to access our AWS S3 for some processing kind of thing or data processing for that. Then even for the cross-account access also we are going to give the IAM roles. Then temporary also. I don't want to give the permissions completely. I don't want to create the user. Okay, then I want to give the different permissions for temporarily. Then also I'll use the roles. Say going forward, when we use the Lambda, when we use the CloudWatch, when we use the migration, EKS clusters, all these we are going to give appropriate permissions, because cross-service access, lot of services will communicate with each other. Definitely appropriate IAM role should be there. Otherwise, we are not going to get those permissions. Okay. So then going forward also we'll discuss this permissions, all this. Then we have one more thing is there called as policy. The policy is nothing but the permissions what we are going to give. I'll tell one example. I given one permission to the user called as EC2 full admin. Okay. If I give EC2 full admin, then if I assign this role to the user, he can do anything on the EC2. But if you go for the VPC or maybe RDS, he may not have the permissions to do anything, because I've given only EC2 full admin. I have one user, I've given only read only kind of thing. Then what is that meaning of that policy means? He can do only read operations itself. For what services? Even he may not read the VPC also. He may read only EC2 resources itself. Like this, here we have the policies, and mostly AWS has given us managed policies. What is the concept of managed policies? Is more than 1000 plus, around 1100 plus policies have been there with the AWS, and these all the inbuilt policies. Managed by means AWS itself has given those policies. Okay, so we can use those policies itself. Otherwise, we can create our own custom policies also. Okay, so if you don't want that managed policies given by AWS, we can create our own. We can create our own custom policies also. Okay, so mostly AWS recommends to use the managed policies. And can you tell me it's best practice to use the group or user? Which is the best practice?
Group, sir.
Yeah, it's always recommended to attach the policies to the group itself instead of attaching to users. Okay, so if you don't have any like opportunity to create the groups, we have very less users, then go for the directly to the users, but always recommended to go for groups itself. Okay, so then once we created those groups, we have one more also inline policies also we have. Inline policies, I'm not going to attach, say managed policies can be attached to multiple groups, multiple users or multiple roles also. Inline policy only to the one user or one group, okay, say or one role we are going to attach. But managed policies can be attached to multiple, and there would be some resource specific also. Previously, maybe services wise, I'm going to give. Say I have one use case. I have EC2. If I give the full admin access, what is the complaint I'm getting is these EC2 admin permission users, other project EC2 instances also, they keep on stopping or they keep on terminating. Those team members are keep on complaining to us like these admins are deleting our instances also. Then I want to give the permissions at the resource specific to one EC2 instance. I want to give the permission to some specific users itself. Even if I give the EC2 full admin also, I don't want to give for all EC2 resources. I hope you understand the problem, right? If I give the EC2 full access, they may them in that account other project EC2 instances also may be there. Okay, that disturbing those EC2 instances. So these kind of so that we are giving more permissions which is supposed to be not given to them. So like this, giving the access Azure wise, sorry, cloud wise or DevOps wise is very risky kind of thing. For that, what we need to do is
You can go for the
yeah, we
custom
need to
policy.
go for the resource specific kind of policies, and to that itself we are going to give the permissions. Okay, that's we need to define those permissions. Okay, so whenever I create a policy, either that is a managed policy, resource specific policy, it is having one JSON format. Okay, say by default it can create a JSON format, or directly we can give the JSON format and that can be attached to the policy itself. And what are the things or items we have in that JSON format is okay. So then what are the JSON format we have is we have the version, statement, what is the resource, actions, okay, principle. So these all the details. We'll discuss all this in the IAM access. So now I'm going to search for IAM. So as of now, we log in as the root user, but AWS not recommends to log in as the root user. We need to create the IAM resources. Now, even it's one of the best practice to enable MFA for root user also, but to the other IAM user also. Today, that is one of the assignment I'm giving. Everyone need to enable. Instead of enabling for root user, create one IAM user and try to enable MFA, create different type of users, reset their passwords, because every day we would be getting lot of tickets like this. We'd be getting the tickets. Okay, and we have user groups, users. First, which one is recommended to create user groups or users?
I think US.
No, no. First, to create the user groups. While creating the users, add them to user groups.
Correct. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so in the like project also, first identify what are the user groups, assign those permissions to them, then create the users and continuously add them to those groups. It's keep on changing, not like that. It's not a like a mandatory we need to do. But first, better to create a user group. So now here I'm going to create one user group. Okay, I'll call that as server admins. Okay, server admins. L3 level I'm going to create the groups. Okay, so as of now here we have one user called Suresh. Let it be that Suresh. But what I'm going to give is, if I give here this policy name, what is the policy is? These all the managed policies. Mostly if you see here managed policies, if I give full administration access, then he can do anything. But I don't want to give like this. Okay, then I'm going to give the EC2 full access. I want to give the EC2 full access for this purpose. Okay, so as of now, this is not the user. For the group, we don't get any credentials to log in. We are just adding the users to the group. We're just adding the users to the group. Okay, so here I'll going to create one user here. So assume I have one user called John. So in my project, I have an on-site employee called John. For the John, I'm going to give the access. So now here, add the user to the group or copy permissions, attach policies directly. So now in this use case, best practice is add a user to the group or attach policies directly. Already we discussed, better to add to the group itself. Okay, instead of attaching policies directly, in the attached policies, either we can attach managed policies, custom policies, or inline policies also we can create and attach. Now I'm adding to the group itself. And what is the group here? Server admin. Okay. So then here we have one more option, copy permissions. Copy permissions is, okay. So now assume I have one user called John and I have given the permissions directly. I have given the attached those permissions attached directly. Okay, so then I have one more user, James also. For the James, what I'm going to give is, I want to copy the permissions what John have. The same permissions I want to give the similar kind of permissions to James also. Okay, then what my manager will tell is, So suppose when I'm creating the James user, he will tell, give the exact permissions what John have. Okay. So then the best practice is always add the John also to the same group. But as of now, we don't have the groups. Then choose copy permission option. Then choose the copy permission option. But as of now here, I'm going to use adding the users to the group itself. Okay, so boundary also we can see, but I'm adding the user here. Okay, so then I have added the John. Okay, in the same way, I want to log in with the John account. Then here I'm going to use incognito mode, AWS console. Otherwise, for the IAM also we'll get a separate URL, and I'm going to sign in as an IAM user. Then I need to remember three things here. I need to enter my account details. Okay, account ID. Every AWS account will have a unique 12-digit number. Then username and password. One problem is I didn't keep the password here. I forgot to keep the password. Now I'll try to reset the password. Then that John again may send a email to me. I didn't get the credentials. Then I'll go to that John user security credentials. As of now, I didn't enable the console access. I'm going to enable the console access, and I'm going to generate a custom password. By default, even I didn't enable the login also. Okay, so then I'm giving the option user must create a new password at the next sign on, and I'm going to enable access also. Then here I can download that CSV file. I'll share this CSV file to the John email ID. To the John email ID, I'm going to send that. Okay, then here we have an URL also. This URL that user can directly click. In this already have that 12-digit number. Okay, otherwise you need to go to your account. So now here we are going to get the So here we are going to get our account ID also. Okay, so then that account ID, John is the username. Then the password what I have said there, that password I need to enter. Then for the first time when the user login, it mandatory the user need to reset that password, that option we have enabled, or that depends upon that setting. Like here why we are getting this access error, why we are getting this because we have only the access to EC2 full admin. For the other services, I don't have the access at all. Even for the view also, I don't have the permissions. Okay, so then if I go to DB instances, it is not able to retrieve the DB details also. That means I don't want to display my database details also to everyone. Okay, because if they get the database endpoint URL, that kind of security risk I don't want to take. That is the reason even for some resources, I don't want to give even the view permissions also. Okay, so then if I try to create database, it's impossible to create a database also because I've given only the EC2 full access itself to those user. Only that full access itself have been given to the users. Okay, so like this, try to create the different. So now what I'll do is I'll log in as a John, right? John will assume for his friend, like he want to give one more IAM user. Okay, he will try to directly come to IAM. Okay, so then he want to create one user or user group. Say here other users also he can't see because I don't want to display all this information to the John. You got it right? If I give the IAM level
Yes, sir. I got it.
permissions I have given, then only that user can do. But to the John, I don't want to give. Okay, so list users permission also, that is one of the policy that need to be given to the John. Okay, so then I'll tell one example. Try to give, like I assume I have one account team is there. What is that account team is required is every month they want the billing billing printout. They want how much bill they want because they need to pay, or they want to show in the account. Okay, then each and every time they're asking me download the bill and all those. Instead of that, what I want to do is I want to give only for the billing console itself. I want to give the access to that account guy. Then directly he can come to that AWS account, he can download that like invoice kind of things. Okay, then only for that accounting itself, I will give the access also. For this, what we have is we have the policies, and when that accounting team I'm creating, for them I'll create the user, or I'll create a group itself. Maybe I have 10 guys in the accounting team. For all those 10 guys, I don't give the provision to create the resources, all those. Just I'll give the access to download those billing kind of information. And to all my employees, I don't want to display my billing information also. So those information I want to keep it as confidential kind of thing. Then to the other users, we can't give. I hope you understanding what is the meaning of authorization, right? In the job, you will have very limited access. If you want more permissions, definitely we need to raise a request for that. Then only we are going to get the permissions to do those. Okay. So hence, if you are getting any these kind of errors, don't be panic. What is that meaning? We don't have that permission
Don't
to
have
access that
sufficient right.
resource. Yeah, we don't have that permission to access that resource. Again, I'll come to my. So here, why it is displaying as the global here? Because IAM is not a region specific service. IAM is a pure global service. That means if you create in one region, you can't access other region, not like that. Okay, so now I'll give one use case. I have given the permissions to EC2, but only to Mumbai only I want to give to the Mumbai users. I don't want to give. So this in this account, I have a lot of USA servers also. But what these Indians admins are doing is they're keep on trying to delete or restart the US servers. We are getting very big escalations from them. Then what is my requirement is for Indian users, I want to give the EC2 instance level. I want to give only for Indian servers. I want to give, not for other region services. But EC2 is a region specific, but IAM is a global service. Okay, but still I want to give the restrictions or the resource specific I want to give. Okay, for that also we need to create the policies. Then already there are some thousands of policies are there. Okay, so just go through minimum 20 to 30 policies, go to each and every policy, and here this is the JSON format. Okay, so what are the contents we have in the JSON format is, we have the version, statement, SID, then what is the action we can perform, effect, either allow or deny, which resource, and conditions. So that resource star means in that service, each and every resource I'm giving the permission. Okay, but in the real time, for all the services not recommended to give, only to the some specific resources we need to give the permissions. Only to the some specific resources we need to give the permissions. Okay, so go through some of the policies here. Go through some of the policies and their JSON formats also review once. Okay, so instead of Alexa, so go through the services which are related to EC2, S3, RDS, EKS clusters. Okay, so these kind of things you try to do. Then I'm going to create a role. Okay, so I'm going to create, by default we got some roles around 7 roles we got. Okay, what are these roles also just go through. Then I'm going to create a role. Okay, so then here AWS service, for one service I want to give the access to other service. Okay, so for what service I want is, so mostly used use case is EC2. For the EC2, okay, so here we have the EC2. I'm going to give the permission. Which permission I want to give is lambda. So I want to give the lambda full access, or lambda read-only access, or lambda basic execution kind of role. So it depends upon our requirement. I'm as of now given this kind of only execution I want to give the permission. Okay, then on behalf of us, our EC2 instance would be keep on creating the lambda functions. Okay, then this is the role I'm creating. The role is lambda access for EC2 instance. So here to call AWS services, instead of that, I'm going to call lambda on behalf of us. And here one JSON also it's created. So lambda full access I have given, created that role. And when I have created this role, okay, I need to attach to any of the EC2 instance if they want to access the lambda or execute the lambda. Then I'm going to create an EC2 instance here. I'm going to create an EC2 instance, launch instance. So my web server I have taken here, any name you take. Remaining all the options are same, but we need to go for advanced details. In the advanced details, what we need to do is, here we have IAM instance profile. In the IAM instance profile, okay, so this is the lambda we have given. Okay, so what is the lambda we have given here? I think this is EC2 lambda is our role we have created, or from here also you can create a role and that can be attached to this. Now what we are doing is, we are giving the lambda permission or lambda full access to this EC2 instance. Going forward, this EC2 instance also can call the lambda functions. That permission not to the user we have given, to this EC2 instance we have given. Or I want to store some logs to CloudWatch mostly every day. Going forward in the scenarios, we would be using roles very frequently. That appropriate role, say even giving EC2 more permissions also is risky kind of thing. Okay, so I'll tell one example. In your mobile, if it's a lot of banking uh, loan kind of applications used to collect all our images, all our contacts. Okay, because we have given the permission to that app, they're collecting all those. So that's security wise risky or not? In the same way here also, to one service, giving more permissions also is risky. As per your project, the appropriate permissions we should give. In order to give that permissions also, we have a business use case for that. Okay, so now here try to create one custom policy also and attach that to the user and groups. Then here if I go for the cloud trial, okay, if I go for the cloud trial, okay, so all administrative events have been recorded into the cloud trial. Okay, all administrative events are going to be recorded into the cloud trial. Now if you come to the event history, all the events are going to be logged here. Okay. So all the event history is going to be logged here. Most of them we have given as the root itself. For this purpose, it's not recommended to use the root itself. So what we need to do? Those should be given IAM user. Okay. So what are the operations you have performed? Each and everything is going to be recorded in your, all those events are going to be recorded in your
Root user.
yeah, cloud trial, but not with the root user. In the real time, not recommended to log in as the root user. Okay, if you log in as an IAM user, that IAM user we are going to get the permissions. Okay, so then here we log in as the John some user, right? Here try to create one EC2 instance. Okay, once you create that EC2 instance, now after 5 to 10 minutes, come and check in the cloud trial with that user whether we got the entry or not. Even if someone deleted an instance also, we need to track it from the cloud trial itself. I hope you understand the point, right? Because if you tell cloud watch, if that resource is not there, then we can't monitor anything from the cloud watch. Okay, if the resource is existing, then at least we can monitor from cloud watch. But here that resource itself is not existing. Okay, so then here we have even in the IAM we have one more thing is there. I'll show that. Here, some people may complain that 12-digit number I'm not able to remember or I can't remember that. Then what we can do is we go to the dashboard. That 12-digit number we can configure one alias also. One alias also we can create. Here it's not getting this option.
Account ID now.
Normally here we'll have one more tab would be there. So normally here we have this account URL, right? For this, yeah, here you can create an alias. Okay, so I want alias maybe any name. Say suppose my company is like CloudSoft, but that should be uniquely available. Okay, then either in that 12-digit number instead of this number, you can enter this alias also. Okay, or in the URL we can enter, or go to IAM user login, enter that 12-digit account number or alias, IAM user and password. Okay, so for that purpose you can create an alias. Okay, so then here we'll come to the policies. Even I can create a policy also. Okay, so now in the policies, most of them are the managed policies, and AWS also recommends to use the managed policies itself. But you have a specific resource kind of thing or multiple set of policies you want as a single policy. For that, you can go for a create a policy. Okay, so now here you can create either GUI wise or even JSON also. Okay, so using the policy editor, we can create the policies. Okay, so for what service you want to give that permission access, those also you can create the policy. Okay, so then I'm going to give the service, which service I want to give. Okay, for EC2. Okay, so then what are the actions I can allow? Okay, I want to give all EC2 actions. Okay, otherwise I don't want to give the maybe termination kind of things like this. I don't want to give this, but these all the different operations. If I give this policy to the users, they can manage. So like this, choose the different services. Say suppose by default these managed policies also we have, but you have multiple group of policies you want to give, which are not available in the managed policies. Then we can go for the custom policies. Okay, either through the JSON, but spend minimum 2 to 3 hours in all these policies, all these also. Okay, then we have very important one, that is all these days we are going to log in through the console. Okay, for the console, they are going to give the root account and we have our password, or now we have created IAM user, and IAM user also we have the password. Okay, so using the console, AWS console, we are going to log into this. But I want to use AWS CLI, or I want to use like maybe programmatical SDKs or APIs. Okay, or I want to use Terraform kind of third-party tools. For that, that IAM console access credentials are not enough for this. Okay, this access is called as programmatical access. So for the programmatical access, what AWS is providing for us is they're going to provide an access credentials. This access credentials contains access key and secret key. Okay, so for the security purpose also, instead of using those username and passwords, one of the DevOps best practices is we are going to use the access key, and the secret keys are getting more popular now. If I go to that AWS, now here in this you go to the security credentials and you can download those security credentials. Every user also can download his security credentials, unless for that user we have disabled that. Now here you can create an access key and you can download. So from where we are getting is, you go to your user security credentials, and here we are going to create access keys. Okay, so here already one access key is there, right? At any point of time simultaneously, two set of keys we can create. Okay, if already two have been created, third is not possible, then disable and delete one, then you can create a new set. Okay, so but always rotate your access keys. So rotate your access keys. What is the main advantage with this is, if someone get your access keys also, access key also. Okay, so if someone get your credentials also, they can't access that. That is the purpose. We need to rotate your keys. Okay, so now in this already we have one key, but I'm going to create one more, because at any point of time simultaneously we can maintain two keys. Then here continue to access the key pair, then create an access key. Then they're going to give one access key, one secret key, just like this is a username kind of thing, and this is the password. Only for the one time it will be displayed. Later we can't get this password. Hence, in the real time, always save it in a secure location. This access key and the secret key, we need to save it for your account. Everyone create, disable, delete all these access accounts. Everyone try, because going forward we are going to use your, not your console access like username and password. We are going to use the access key and the secret key we are going to use, and even security wise also, compared to password, this is the secure way we can do it. Okay, so then in the next sessions, we'll use Terraform or AWS CLI to provision the resources. For that, we will understand how to use those keys. How to use those keys we are going to understand. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
So try to create those users, all this, then we'll discuss. Okay?